Today we'll be working in my workbook called Preparing to Leave Mount Sinai, Consecration and Purity. And this is the second part of them at Mount Sinai, preparing to leave on their travels, technically towards the Promised Land, although we all know that they take a lot longer than they thought at this time to get there. And looking at the table of contents, we have completed all the first 7 chapters. There were more vows and laws that God created. And then chapters in number 6 through 9, that's actually in the first month, not the second month. So all these things have to happen before the start of the book of Numbers. So it's kind of interesting how Moses went backwards in this a little bit. But we talked about the various dedications around the tabernacle once it was created. And then the fact that the Levites have to be consecrated as well as the priests. Now we go to chapter 8. The second Passover, Numbers 9, 1 through 14.
The Lord spoke to Moses in the desert of Sinai, and in the first month of the second year after they came out of Egypt, he said, have the Israelites celebrate the Passover at the appointed time. Celebrate it at the appointed time at twilight on the 14th day of this month, in accordance with all its rules and regulations.
What did the Lord want people to celebrate at Mount Sinai?
Passover.
What day, month, day, and year was this to take place?
14th day of the first month, second year.
What is the name of the first month of the Jewish calendar?
Nisan.
Nisan or Nisan? Yeah.
Nisan.
Yeah, like the car.
Right, Nisan.
What does this equate to in our calendar?
March through April.
Looking at the next page, where was the first Passover celebrated?
Egypt.
Right. So basically, the next 2 pages, I talk about the first Passover, and we probably will relate to that. I don't know that we have to read that right now, unless you think we should. But basically, this all happened in Exodus, and this was the very first Passover that was created. Some of the things that we'll talk about have to do with this. So I had to take 2 pages for that.
Yeah. So Moses told the Israelites to celebrate the Passover, and they did so in the desert of Sinai. At twilight on the 14th day of the first month, the Israelites did everything just as the Lord commanded Moses.
Were the people going to follow through with what Moses told them to do?
Yes.
The Israelites had to know this ahead of time, because what did they have to do on the 10th of the month to prepare?
The 10th of the month, they had to take care of it until the 14th, or take care. Each man take an unblemished lamb and take care of it until the 14th.
Right. They had to make a personal connection to it. Yeah. What time of day was the Passover eaten?
Twilight.
On the night of the Passover, what would they be eating?
Lamb roasted over fire, buttered, herbs, bread without yeast.
Right. Have you ever been to a Passover?
No.
A Seder dinner? Nope. If you ever have the opportunity to do it, it helps visualize what they do. And especially if you get it done by a Messianic Jew who believes in Christ, because then he can tell you how the Seder dinner actually relates to Christ in every piece of it. It's kind of really cool.
Have you ever been to one? I mean, where would you find one?
Well, you kind of just keep your ears open. A lot of times the churches you go to, there might be someone who's interested in putting one on. And we had a couple of Messianic Jews at West Grove, Calvary Chapel, West Grove. And so they put on a Seder dinner. So we were eager to come because we wanted to see what it was like. Yeah. So yeah, just keeping your ears and eyes open and watching.
Well, there's this one restaurant in downtown LA, and I don't remember the name of it. When I took this class when I was unemployed the first time back in 2000 or whatever, and this lady that I met was from Africa, Ethiopia or something like that. And she took me to this one Ethiopian restaurant in downtown LA where they ate on the floor. We ate on the floor and all this bread. And I don't know if it was unleavened bread or whatever, but you had to eat it like you do chorizos with tortillas. You take a piece of tortilla and then you pick up the food with that and eat it. And we had all different kinds of food. Some was good and some was not. I wasn't used to, but it was quite interesting. And I kind of related it to Passover like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Of course, I don't think the Jews even sit on the floor now either, but
Oh,
still, it's definitely an experience to go through to really see how each item, what it means. So
yeah.
if you have a chance, I would just suggest it.
Oh,
Uh,
yes, for sure.
see, how were they to eat it?
With their cloak tucked in your belt, your sandals on, and staff in your hand.
And what was the Passover celebrating?
Death angel that took the firstborn of Egypt.
Right, along with the Passover, what is the festival around it called?
Festival of unleavened bread.
How long was the festival of unleavened bread?
7 days. But some of them could not celebrate the Passover on that day because they were ceremonially unclean on account of a dead body. So they came to Moses and Aaron that same day and said to Moses, "We have become unclean because of a dead body, but why should we be kept from presenting the Lord's offering with the other Israelites at the appointed time?"
And I think because they asked it this way,
Yeah,
that the Lord made an exception. It depends on what's in your heart all the time.
exactly.
Why couldn't these people celebrate the Passover at the same time as the rest of the Israelites?
Ceremonially unclean.
Later Jews who were traveling on the 14th of the first month would also be included in this exemption. What day did they come to Moses to present their problem?
The same day.
Did these men appear to want to present the Lord's offering?
Yes.
These men handled this problem properly for this time. Did they ignore the rules, didn't ask Moses for clarification, and participated anyway?
No.
Did they grumble and complain, not asking for a solution?
No.
Did they cry out to God or go to Moses for their problem?
Moses.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but basically they went to Moses for their problem. So they did do the right thing.
Yeah.
What do you think? Will there be a special provision made for them? And what will it be?
Yes. I think that they will because they're like pleading and they want to participate. So yeah.
Right. And basically the reason why they waited until the last day is you don't always know you're going to be unclean until that day. You can't plan that 2 weeks ahead.
Yeah. True.
So, so they did everything correctly as far as mentioning that.
Yeah. Moses answered them, "Wait until I find out what the Lord commands concerning you." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, when any of you or your descendants are unclean because of a dead body or are away on a journey, they are still to celebrate the Lord's Passover. But they are to do it on the 14th day of the second month at twilight. They are to eat the lamb together with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They must not leave any of it till morning or break any of its bones. When they celebrate the Passover, they must follow all the regulations."
Was a special provision made to handle those who were unclean during the Passover?
Yes,
The special provision was, when were they to celebrate the Lord's Passover?
14th day, second month.
Yeah. Are they to eat the same thing as the normal Passover?
Yes,
Were they to follow all the regulations of the normal Passover?
yes.
Notice that God provides another reason other than handling a dead body to celebrate the Passover in the second month. What is it?
Being out of town.
Yeah. This replacement Passover, known as the Pesach Sheni, continues today as well. So if you can't make the Passover for logical reasons, you can and do the Passover the month later.
Wow. But if anyone who is ceremonially clean and not on a journey fails to celebrate the Passover, they must be cut off from their people for not presenting the Lord's offering at the appointed time. They will bear the consequences of their sin. A foreigner residing among you is also to celebrate the Lord's Passover in accordance with its rules and regulations. You must have the same regulations for both the foreigner and the native born.
What was to happen to Jews who simply chose not to celebrate the Passover, even though they were clean and not on a journey?
Cut off from their people.
What does being cut off from their people and bear the consequences of their sin mean? It could mean excommunication, social and religious isolation, where the individual is expelled from the community, losing their rights as a citizen and participation in national life. It could be divine judgment, a spiritual punishment directly from God, often interpreted as a premature death or the extinction of the soul. Loss of inheritance, forfeiture of family land rights, and the erasure of one's name from the tribal genealogies. The end of the lineage. Some interpretations suggest it meant dying without children, effectively cutting off the individual's future presence within the nation. Was the foreigner in their midst to celebrate the Passover as well?
Yes.
Sometimes we talk about the fact that, boy, these rules are tough.
Yes, they are.
There are two reasons for that. One, so that people really think about it if they decide to do something different. Second, the first one that is punished this way is going to be a symbol for everybody else.
Right.
So that's why, these worked, because it kept the people under control and to what they're supposed to do. We don't have these. We think they're awful. It's like there was one rule and I don't, probably in Leviticus or wherever, where it talks about if a child doesn't do what they're supposed to, you're supposed to stone them to death. It's like,
no way.
we would never think of doing that.
No.
But wouldn't it kind of keep kids under control and keep parents controlling their kids? You don't want this to happen to you. So, it has its effect. So we get to the second crossword. 1, you cannot participate in the Passover if you've been near a dead
body.
4, what month is a replacement Passover celebrated?
Second.
7, a blank residing among you is also to celebrate the Passover.
Foreigner.
8, the festival around the Passover is called the Festival of
Unleavened
Bread. What time of day do they celebrate the Passover?
Twilight.
2, unleavened bread is made without
yeast.
3, what day of the first month do they celebrate Passover?
14.
If you're away on a blank, you also can postpone celebrating the Passover.
Journey.
Was the first Passover in the first or second month of the second year?
First.
On the 10th of the first month of the year, what animal was the man to get?
Lamb.
Yeah.